Hello, hold on one heartbeat. Stand by. To readers, iPad, AirPods, connect them.
No, I was like, I can kind of see Karel. I don't know why, but I had to admit you, Steve, in the waiting room. So Karel, you might have to manage the waiting room. I don't understand. I went in and specifically turned it off for this meeting. Okay, what time is it? 7:02. Still a lot of people joining in. I guess we can just get started.
Let's roll, baby.
Yeah.
What's that?
Or if you want, I could floss for entertainment more.
Please don't.
Okay. Yeah, I can't even see the chat, I guess, when I'm sharing my screen. So you'll have to let me know if there's anything good in there.
Got it.
All right, well, I'm just gonna get started because it's like a couple minutes after. Okay, so my name is Kier, if you guys don't already know me, and then I have my two awesome co-hosts here, Mindy and Steve. Steve was showing us his skills. If you missed that. So tonight we're going to talk about direct. We have special guests with us tonight. They are Arby and Dave. They were just featured on the like-minded Instagram page. They do a bunch of direct mail. They flip houses. They own rental properties. They wholesale. I literally just found out a couple of how they do Airbnb. Like they've done it all. So they'll go over their direct mail strategy a little bit later and their charitable efforts that they're doing for the holidays. But first, Mindy, if you want to talk about the donation to Feeding America.
Yes. So speaking of charitable donations, one of the things that is important, I think, for the like-minded investors community is to make sure that we are finding ways to give back. And as everyone's aware, 2020 has been kind of a crazy year for everyone. And so I went out and did some research and found a great organization that we can support. And so tonight, for every person that joins, we're going to be making a donation on your behalf to Feeding America. So a little bit about Feeding America is they're a nationwide network of over 200 food banks and 60,000 food pantries and meal programs that they support across the US. And you know, some of the stats that I saw that were crazy was 1 in 9 people struggle with hunger, and that equates to 50 million within the United States. And of that, 17 million are children. So far, I see we're at 75 participants. So like I said, for every participant, we're donating $1, and $1 feeds 10 people. So, so thank you all for coming tonight. We're excited, and just know that you're helping to contribute to Feeding America.
Yeah, that was great. I didn't know you were going to give all that juicy info. So we do have a lot of people here tonight. So I guess if you, I'm sure, I can't see the chat, but I know Mindy already said, but if you didn't already put like your social media handle, email, website, like whatever you want to put in there so we all can connect. And then if you want to ask questions too, I guess just put that like during the presentation and discussion and all that. And Mindy will
I'll be Vanna.
Chatting. So tonight we're going to start with a short presentation about, I'm going to go over my direct mail, and then we'll have Dave talk about their experience. And it's kind of cool because I've only done small scale, like very targeted direct mail, and they've scaled their direct mail like crazy. So you'll get 2 different perspectives on direct mail marketing. So Oh yeah, chat in the chat. I didn't know I put that in there. All right, so an overview of what I've done so far. I've done, like I said, 4 small scale campaigns. The first 2 I mailed to over 100 people each time. And then the third mailing, I scaled it down and did, I mailed to like 130 people. And then the 4th campaign, I just did a drip campaign of 10 handwritten letters and envelopes per week for 4 weeks. My list consisted of half drive dollars, which is where I drove around, looked for rundown, not well taken care of, distressed houses. Then I wrote the address down. I went home, looked up the owner. I found their mailing address, my Excel sheet. So it was kind of time intensive to do, but you'll see later that it was actually the best list that I wound up mailing to. And then the other half of the list I sourced was of owners who had high equity and owned for 20 plus years. And a question I get frequently is where I source lists from. I don't know if that was already put in there, but I'm an agent. So I have I pay for the MLS, but then I have free access to something called Remine, which so far is my favorite place to source lists. But I actually have no idea if it's available to the public, which I should probably look into before I talk about that. But I've also sourced lists from PropStream, Deal Machine, forget where else, but basically just to like see how the sites compare. And I like the one that I use the best so far. And I know a lot of people use ListSource, but I haven't tried that one yet, so I can't give any feedback on that. And then another question I get a lot is, what did I set up before I actually mailed my postcards? So the only 3 things that I really set up before I sent my first campaign was I set up a PO box because I didn't want my home address on there, but I wanted to receive the return mail so I could skip trace it and try and track down the owners. You could always leave the address off the mail if that's something that's like holding you back from sending your direct mail. You just won't get your undeliverables back. And then I also set up a few phone numbers on Vumber.com so I could track which campaign the calls were coming from. And Vumber is basically a virtual phone number. You can set it up to ring to any phone. There are like a ton of services out there to do it. So you can use like I looked into CallRail, Grasshopper, Fresh Call, Google Voice. I know there are a lot of options out there. And then for my CRM, in the beginning, I kind of like half sorted up, set it up with Vumber to automatically send leads to Podio. But at the time, it was too big of a learning curve. So I just started using Vumber as the CRM, which didn't work. So I just went back to using Excel, but that got messy. So I took a break from direct mail and tried a bunch of different other methods to track the leads because I kind of felt like it was a waste of time to mail and not like track anything about it. So I tried Deal Machine, Asana. I tried Remine again for CRM. I tried organizing leads in Google folders. But long story short, I went back to Podio and I'm just sucking it up and like learning it as I go because it really does have a lot of capabilities.
So here, one question that came in, the realtor site you mentioned, what was the name of that? Remine,
REMINE. Right. Yeah, if someone wants to look that up, I don't know if it's available to the public or not.
So then someone asked for the name of the list that you used as well.
The name of the list?
Yeah, like all the different lists.
Okay. Okay, I can type that into the chat when I'm done. I'll put them all in there. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So this is my first direct mail campaign. And if you can't read any of these letters, Mindy is going to put into the chat like specifically what they say, because I don't know how big this is for you guys. But I sent out 606 postcards. They basically look like everybody else's, like all the other investors, all the other wholesalers' direct mail. And it had the typical, like, we buy your house fast for cash, close fast, no closing costs, all that stuff. And I did decide to add a picture because I had a mentor when I first started direct mail campaigns, and he said that once he added a picture of his family to his direct mail, that's when his response rate started going up. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. But I got 0 leads from that campaign, like no calls, except from angry people wanting to be removed from the list, which was a fear of mine when I started. But it was a good thing because it was, a learning experience. And then my second campaign is, that one you really can't read. So if you want to put that one in there, Mindy. I sent this one, it's basically the same one. I sent it to 625, which was mainly the same group as the first campaign, but I removed the people that wanted to be removed. And I wound up adding some more people from Driving for Dollars. And I didn't notice on this one that the company, like when I approved the proof, the company didn't add the picture. So there was no picture on this one. And so from this postcard, I got 11 calls. 2 of them turned into appointments. I got 1 under contract, but that wound up falling apart because of COVID thing. And then I got really great feedback on this one. I actually got calls saying that they didn't want to sell, but they just wanted to tell me they liked my postcard. From a woman who didn't want to sell, but was making me aware of 2 other houses in her neighborhood that were in poor condition that she thought we could help out her neighborhood with. And then another lady said she's going to keep my card for 10 years. And when she's ready to sell, she'll get in contact with me, which we'll say. So I did get good feedback, but I did get one really angry realtor who threatened to report me to the real estate commission for not putting my company's, my brokerage information on the card. So, which now I know is a legit thing and I have to abide by that since I have my real estate license. So that was another good learning experience, hence why on this third campaign, down here at the bottom is where I added that information. So this campaign, I really narrowed down the list on this one, and I only mailed to 134 sellers, and it was all from the Driving for Dollars list, because I had noticed that on the last campaign, every single call was from a house that I physically drove by and wrote down the address for. So yeah, so this is the one pretty much the same as the previous one. I basically shortened it. I asked the company to include that picture of us. And I did get one really angry person from this call from this card that actually made me cry, which is embarrassing to admit, but it did. She basically told me that I sounded desperate and that I was throwing spaghetti against a wall, which definitely wasn't the case because the truth is we can offer unique solutions because I'm an agent, my husband's a contractor, we're investors. So there are a lot of ways we can help. So it shouldn't have made me cry after you think about it, but it still did. And then this is campaign number 4. This is where I only did 10 handwritten letters and handwritten envelopes. And I just did 10 of them per week for 4 weeks. And I tried to mail to properties that we really wanted to add to our portfolio because of the extra time that it took. And I'm kind of mad at myself now. This is the only picture the ones that I took, or the ones that I wrote, because it was an undeliverable. So it was pretty generic. The other letters that I had sent were kind of more specific to the property or to the property owner. So I got no calls from any of the 40 handwritten letters. So I personally won't be writing any more handwritten letters because they did take me a really long time to do. But I've heard other people have really good success with it. And then I'll just show you two pictures of campaigns that I actually get, and then I'll let RV and Dave start talking. But yeah, I just wanted to show these letters because I've received these, and I just wanted to show that there's huge variations in marketing techniques. So this is an example of a postcard that I received, totally generic. It's just like the first one that I sent out. And then the second one that I got, well, I've gotten a lot, but this one really interested me because it was a 2-page letter from a guy, tons of detail on here, how the process works, about his company, who he's helped. He put a picture of himself on there, and basically a million different ways to get in contact with him. So what I'm getting at is if you're not starting your direct mail campaign because you don't know what kind of a postcard to say or what to say in your letter, or if you should send a postcard or a letter, everyone has their own opinion on what works and what doesn't. So just start. You can always change it up later. You can always improve upon your techniques, and then you can always just scale from there if scaling is what you want to do. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So on the topic of scaling, I think we This would be a good time to bring in Arby and Dave because, like I said, I have not scaled this direct
And
mail.
one question in the chat before they jump in is, so when you send, do you resend the same address multiple times?
So I did for the first 2 campaigns, and then the third campaign was the same people, but it was just way narrowed down. So yeah, those people got touched 3 times.
3 times?
And then the 4th list was totally different. That was to just handwritten letters to very specific properties that we really would love to have in our portfolio. Yeah. So Arby and Dave, you guys want to talk about your direct mail?
Yeah. Let me start out by saying thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for having us. A little bit about us, our background. We met in college, our junior year in college, and we started our journey together as a couple. Right out of college, we kind of were debating to go the corporate route or to try out our own business. RV ended up starting her real estate investment company right out of college. I decided to go coach for a year. That didn't really work out, to be honest.
So I dragged him along with me.
Yeah, basically what happened was she needed help on the construction side because her flips were going okay.
Yeah.
So I ended up joining her. And kind of from there on, we did 3 flips in Buffalo, New York, basically 3 rentals in Buffalo, New York. And those were off the MLS. After that, just like you, Kier, we started doing our own direct mail by writing, just like how you started. Basically, we had no responses. We did, I think, for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And we had 0 responses, like at all. Nobody called us back. So from that point on, we decided that we had some money saved up from the flips that we did. And we decided to invest everything we had in direct mail.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what Dave and Kier said. We started out just like everybody else, writing literally handwritten letters to where my hand was cramping up. And I think we ended up doing a total of like 300 letters. They weren't as extensive as Kier's, like mine were way simpler because I did not have the patience to write that much. But it's like Dave said, we got a couple calls, which were mostly angry callers. And then I got one lead, I'll say, that she was like, I'll be ready to sell in 3 years, so I'll save your letter. So, I mean, that obviously never panned out. But we started really focusing on kind of being serious and scaling it up and realized that if we really wanted to get those like high profit margin deals, that doing direct mail on a serious note was going to be like the best way to get started for us. So what we did before we even started direct mailing, we had to set up some systems to make sure that we were tracking everything and that the money we were going to invest in direct mail, was not going to be a waste. Now we don't have a fancy presentation like here, so I guess you're going to have to take notes on this. But one of the first things we set up was making sure we had a CRM where all of our leads were going to come in. If you follow us on Instagram, you might already know that we use Resimply, which we really love. It's a great CRM for any like type of wholesaling leads, whatever you're doing in terms of rental and everything. So that's what we decided to go with in terms of managing our leads and doing follow-ups. And then we also decided to have an answering company to get the first initial calls from our direct mail. Because like you mentioned, 20% of the letters you're going to send out, they're going to be angry callers. And that was my biggest fear. I did never get to a point where a lead made me cry, but I've gotten like very upset by leads before. So I was like, you know what? I really don't want to handle this. And on top of that, I'm generally a very shy person. So when people were calling in that were really interested in selling, I wasn't asking them the right questions because I felt like I was bothering them and I felt like they just wanted to get off the phone. So if we went with a company that, they had a script, they had the questions, they do all of this, all day long, so they don't get upset by angry callers and they don't get shy about asking the questions that we wanted them to ask for us. So those are the 2 things that I would say are really like crucial when it comes to direct mail or any type of marketing that you're doing if you really wanted to scale it up as a business. On the other hand, Kier was mentioning that she did that on a personal level. We were doing the same thing in the beginning. We started saying, you know, RV and Dave will buy your home, this and that. But when we really started to get serious about it, we wanted to turn this into a business. So we wanted to seem professional. We wanted to seem like we've been doing this for 10 plus years. So we made sure that we had a business name, like an LLC already started, a logo, like literally professional, to make sure that to them it sounded like, you know, we've been in this business for a long time. So when we started out, these were like the three big things that we did to really be serious about the direct mailing part. Now on the actual direct mailing itself, we went with a company that does only handwritten letters. And by handwritten, I literally mean, you know, the robots will write it with a pen, not like a printed font from the computer that looks handwritten. And our pieces are super simple. They don't mention any of the, like, we'll buy it cash, we'll give you an offer within 24 hours, you know, we'll buy it as is, you know, this and that. Our pieces just say, what is your plan for 123 Main Street? We're interested in purchasing your property. If you have an interest of getting a cash offer, call my office at, you know, whatever this number. And the key part on that is where I say call my office. So they expect it to be like a business answering service, not me directly. Now, a lot of people, when they call, they still say, I want to talk to RV because, you know, she wrote me the letter. But the company just says, hey, I'm her secretary. She's out on appointment, you know, whatever that is. But it sounds more professional for us, and it's worked better, in my opinion, because people want to know who they're dealing with. They want to know that you're professional. Most of the time when they call, they're really serious about selling, so they want to make sure that you can close. So when they see a company name, and maybe they even see reviews of us online, they see that we have a website, they think, okay, this is a legit company, so this is probably someone I can do business with. So those are like the main things. And as I said, you know, our piece of paper just said very simple, you know, what's your plans? We'll buy it for cash. You know, if you're interested, give us a call. The reason why I don't think personally, you know, as like Kier said, everybody has their opinion on what works and every market is different. So don't take my word, you know, to the T. But when you're sending out a letter that literally explains all of your business plan, how you do it, you know, how, when you do it, how much this and that, it kind of takes away the curiosity for them. So when you're literally explaining everything, if they're really not interested, or even if they had a peak of interest, you might have taken that away by literally spilling out everything about you. When you, yeah, we'll show them. When you keep it simple, it's more like, okay, what are these people about? Let me give them a call, or at least go visit their website.
Yeah, so we started off with actual letters. We started with actual letters, and we decided to move on to postcards, and we tested postcards, and they was working just as well. So this is what the postcards generally look like. They keep it simple, professional. We list their first name. If there's two owners, we list both owners' names. So it's really personal. And as RV said, this makes them really curious to find out like if this is legit. Some people call us and have no idea that this is actually an option.
And this is a return to sender actually. So if I take this off, you'll see at the bottom, it has my logo and my my website. So I make sure that it has that for me. And one thing, I mean, this is like besides direct mail, but when they go to my website, I have retargeting ads. So anytime they go on Facebook or Instagram, they'll start seeing me pretty much all over the place. I'll start stalking them, so I'm on top of their mind.
Well, if you go to our website, you'll probably see a lot of ads.
Yeah, from us. Did you have any questions, Mindy?
One question I had, so since you're the money-making duo, like you guys play off each other, like who does what to run your business and
So I'm mostly in what is the word? In charge. I'm mostly in charge of kind of doing the marketing and bringing the deals or making the phone ring per se.
From that point on, I know she didn't mention yet, but at the beginning, we were doing about 500 to 2,000 letters every month. We had one deal every month. We were getting one deal, and we decided to scale up to about 4,000 letters. And at that point, it was starting to get a little too much. For us, all the appointments, calls, doing the marketing at the same time. So we had an AM, an acquisition manager, to go on the appointments for us, and he handles all the calls. But our process is pretty simple. RV handles the leads, basically creating the leads. The acquisition manager goes to the appointments. He does the offers. He's on the phone with them all the time. When he goes to the appointments, he takes pictures of detailed pictures of the property from inside and out. From that point on, the pictures are sent to me. I analyze the budget for when it comes to reno. I look up the comps, and I also give RV my best opinion about what we should do with the property. Because you mentioned before, we have experience with flips, long-term, short-term rentals, house hacking, a little bit of everything. From that point on, the lead goes back to RV, and we give our offer.
Right.
Usually we get a hard no. Usually it's a hard no.
99% of the
90%
time.
And from that point on, it's just follow up. Just follow up, follow up, follow up.
Mhm.
And that's basically the
When
pattern.
the no's,
Yeah.
when the no's start turning into yeses, and
Mhm.
you know, you start getting deals done.
So I have a question on your sourcing. Do you use certain lists, or where are you finding your leads from?
Yeah, so we have mainly used, well, actually, we've done a lot of everything, like even driving for dollars, even cold calling and text messages before. But now most of the time we pull lists from PropStream and ListSource. Those are like two main list pullers. Honestly, we've tried other providers, but these two are the ones that have given us the best results when it comes to direct mail. So that's what we use.
And you mentioned that you were doing about 500 to 2,000 direct mails per month, and off of that you would see one deal. Is that like a typical close ratio for you, or what do you?
Yeah, so usually we'll see every 2,500 letters that we send out a deal. There's always outliers. I sent out a list once of 900 and I got 4 deals out of it. So there's definitely always outliers, but on average, it kind of all turns out to be every 2,500 letters, you'll get a deal.
And this one I'm really big on. I love follow up. I love that you brought that up. And
yeah,
if you're getting a no, that means you're going in with an offer that is going to work for your business, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting yeses right away, that's probably you're offering too much.
Yeah, yeah.
So from a follow-up standpoint, a certain cadence that you follow, how many times do you like switch up, like text, phone calls, mails? Like, what does that look like?
So once we have a lead in the system, it is very unlikely that we'll mail them again unless they've been dodging our calls, you know, for a very long time. And I truly believe that that's going to turn out to be a deal. Then I'll probably mail it again. But once it's in the system, I'm like 99% of the time, I'm not going to mail it again. In terms of follow-ups, it's very dependent on lead. So we'll get calls sometimes. They're like, hey, I really want to sell, but I'm not ready right now. I need like a month or 2. So then we'll put them on like some longer term follow-ups with, you know, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks with messages, sometimes emails, and then calls. I mean, the best way to follow up is on calls if you get them on the phone, but it's not always possible. And then once you start getting a lot of leads in the CRM, it gets very overwhelming to start following up with everybody on the phone. So the drip campaigns help with that.
This is why we like Simply a lot, because all these drip campaigns and systems are automated.
Yeah.
For the drip campaign, you literally put a message, a pre-written rep message, and the system automatically sends it out to the sellers. You don't have to touch it, because usually most of the time we just get random texts sometimes, I'm ready to sell now.
Yeah.
And we have no idea because the system did it for us.
Right.
So you rarely send to the same list twice unless they don't respond.
So usually I'll send the same list twice. I don't really do actually pre-foreclosures, which I know is a very popular list. I've done it before and I didn't have a lot of success with it because it's so competitive to do. But if it's something like that's very highly kind of like motivation, like pre-foreclosures, what if you don't mail it in 2 weeks, you know, you'll probably lose on the property. We usually mail the same list every 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mail it one month or after a month, because the likelihood is you still get some leads. And once you follow up with them, you're going to get maybe a deal or two so that you can remove that person from the list. And then you update that same list again because people sold on the MLS, maybe they listed, or, maybe they change your address. So I rarely send the same list, very often. It's usually going to be every 3 to 4 months. And I'll just pull that same type of list again. I wouldn't use the same one that I already had in my system.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to put in perspective, you mentioned the scaling part and how we scaled. We've been doing from the start, we did 500 to 1,000. After that, we went to 4,000 and we were averaging 2 deals a month. After that, we bumped it up to 6,000 and now we're averaging 3 to 4 deals every month. And let's say each wholesale deal, typical wholesale deal, we make around 10,000 on it. But there's outliers, just like, for example, this month, we hit our highest assignment fee this month.
Yep, the 50,000. We actually just closed on that today.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, but I mean, our average is 10 to 13,000. The charger. 10 to 13,000, but we also hit like very small deals of like 3,000. It happens to every investor. Nothing's gonna go always to what you want. And we also, like, when we give our offers, we make sure that if we're wholesaling it, to have a cushion of like $8,000 to $10,000 for a profit.
What market are you guys in again?
We're in Nashville, Tennessee.
And then, do you guys use VAs for any of your stuff, or is it all like because Recently is so like?
So I don't have VAs at the moment. The reason why is because I have a full-time employee that does most of the leads. So like he takes care of all that part. Well, actually, I lied. I do have a VA that does like my return to senders and like very small stuff for me. But that's also my cousin, so I don't know if that really counts. So I do handle the rest of the stuff though myself, because I did get a lot of like time freed up once I hired a full-time person to handle all my leads.
So I have a question about when you get a lead in, how do you decide? Because you mentioned that you do wholesale, you flip, you buy and hold. So how do you decide which route each of those leads is going to take?
So that also, it's like a tricky question because it depends on the lead. Our motto is pretty much keep the best and wholesale the rest. But it also depends on the time that we're in. Like if we already have like maybe 2 or 3 flips going on, then we'll probably just decide to wholesale it because we don't want to keep like too busy on our hands like with flips. So it really depends on the time and like the type of deal. I also know like if it's a really good property, which we get a lot of those sometimes, it's like that doesn't really need any work and it doesn't make sense to wholesale, we'll buy it and then wholesale it. But honestly, like our main strategy is to at least try to wholesale it first and hit a minimum of like 10K. If it doesn't hit that number and we know we can flip it and make more money, then we'll probably keep it and do that. But it depends, it varies a lot on like where we're at the time, like how much cash we have, to actually put into flips.
Our numbers usually, if the profit margin per flip is around 40,
right,
we keep it as a flip. If it's less than that, we basically try to wholesale it. And if it's a little bit less than that, we basically wholesale it. That's
so for people that might not know, what's the difference between wholesale and wholesale?
Wholesale is basically buying a house. It's in decent shape.
It's livable. Basically.
Livable. It's livable. It's move-in ready. It might need some work like paint, maybe new carpet, little things like that. But you just take that chance and you put it on the market.
Yeah, you list it on the MLS.
We don't touch it. We don't do anything to it. We just list it on the MLS. We sell it as is. Because the margin is so big, everybody that sees it on the market, and let's say you have somebody that does like do some projects on their own, they're gonna buy the house because it's a great price. It probably only needs $5,000 in rental if you do it yourself. So that's a steal for most people.
Someone mentioned that the Nashville market, they feel it's saturated. So how are you guys finding opportunities within a saturated market is the question.
I honestly think every market is saturated. Like if you ask everybody on this call, they're probably going to tell you that their market is the hottest. But there's always deals. You just got to find them and do the work. There's really no shortcut. Any market you can make money on.
The deal we did, we closed on today.
Yeah.
That was about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
That
it
is
was
just
an hour. National City. Yeah.
But a lot of deals we get lately are a lot of about 2 to 3 hours away. We still market in Nashville,
Yeah.
but Nashville is getting really, really tough to market in, like the
actual
city
city
of
so
Nashville.
Go.
So we still market here, but the outskirts of Nashville have been really working well for us. And we noticed that because a lot of investors that come here, or a lot of investors that are here, they pay so much attention just to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And we noticed that even if we go an hour out or 2 hours out, we still have the same profit margin, even though the ARV is lower. The profit margin, the prices that we get the property at, is the same amount as if you sell or flip a property in Nashville.
Everyone, let's see. So I know you guys mentioned you do have some rentals. Do you self-manage your rentals?
Yeah, we self-manage them so far. We have 2 in Buffalo still, which is a duplex and a single family. And honestly, we just made sure we put good tenants in there. Yeah. Even through the COVID, we actually didn't have any issues. So, knock on wood.
Yeah, and everything. I would recommend people doing that if everything is new in there. All our rentals we remodeled 2 years ago have everything new when it comes to roof, the HVAC, all the big ticket items are new. So we kind of put up the faith in that it's going to last and we won't have any major issues.
Right. Like if it's a house that probably needs a lot of maintenance, I would definitely would have outsourced it to a property manager. But because we did the work ourselves and like you said, we did everything like brand new, we haven't really had many maintenance requests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then you said that you guys were doing about 3 to 4 deals per month right now. Yeah. Would you say that like every month is different, or are you doing more wholesaling, or kind of how's the ratio there?
So lately, it's been a lot of just wholesales and wholesales for us. We've been getting some really bad properties and then we wholesale them, and then we got some really good ones and then we just keep them and wholesale them. We actually just had one that was a decent flip for us with only $25,000 in rehab. So we're all right, we're keeping this one because it's easy. But again, it depends on the month too. Like in December, you'll find that most of the people that are going to sell to you is going to be people that don't live in the same property. They're either some type of absentee owner or something like that, because nobody wants to move around Christmas times or holidays.
Yeah. And then I saw somebody earlier asked about you said something about Facebook retargeting.
Yeah. So that's just, I'm not a Facebook expert. I actually had somebody set it up for me. So I'm probably not going to answer to too many details because I don't know it. But it just basically means that when they go on our website, our Facebook pixel is somehow connected to our website, that it tracks, for example, Kier on our website, so that once Kier goes on Facebook and Instagram, she's going to start seeing our ads as to why she should sell to us and, things like that. So it kind of tracks it, all those algorithms or whatever those are.
Yeah. Hey, Arvi, that was my question. I've done a lot of Facebook marketing and follow-up campaigns. I was just more curious as to what, how many videos you had in your follow-up series. And with my success, I usually had 7 or 8. And so if they watch one all the way through, then it'll go to the next one, then it'll go to the next one. And they just keep seeing you all the time.
Yeah, so we actually don't have that many videos. I only have one video of me, an awkward selfie video of introducing myself. And then the rest of them are pretty much just pictures and then some type of value-add message. So it's not just sell to us for cash, but it's something about, what should they do if the roof leaks? And then I give them a couple options and then I say, or you can choose to sell to me.
There needs to be a balance of business and also trying to
selling and
trying to
add value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, did you already answer what marketing company you guys use? Is it I know a lot of people are using like ballpoint.
Yeah, we use ballpoint for letters and then Turing marketing for postcards.
And I had a question for my own personal. I was just wondering, how detailed do you get? So for your direct mail campaigns, like how detailed do you get on figuring out which list did the best, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so you did briefly mention it. Actually, I forgot to mention it earlier, which you did great on that. You always, or at least not always, but I suggest you keep track of the list that you're sending, and like what you did, assign it a number. So I know, like on Simply, I can buy numbers, so everything's connected through there. I can buy numbers, and then I can label that number, for example, prop stream absentee owners, so that when I get calls, I know exactly from what list that's coming from. On top of that, Simply also tracks my analytics. So there's like a setting on there where I can go to my analytics, and then I can see on the list or on the number for prop stream, absentee owners, I got 11 calls. I went to 10 appointments. I made 10 offers, and I got 3 deals out of it. And, it tells me exactly what list works best, basically. So I used to kind of do it manually. I would do it like a month, yes, and then 3 months I would forget. So when we simply, had that option, I was already sold on that, and they do it automatically, so which is great. I actually have a code for Simply if you guys want to use it. It saves like 10% on your monthly subscription. It's just my name, RV, if you want to check it out or use it.
What's the code for? Sorry, I missed that.
Just my name, RV.
But what's the company?
Simply. I'll type it real quick here.
Gotcha.
So I know that there are a couple other people on this call too. That I know, Chris, you're here. You did some direct mail. You want to share a little bit about yours? I know you've spoken with RV, and so are you guys doing the same program or
with Chris?
RV taught me a lot. She's been very helpful with everything. So my first direct mail was back in August. I sent 400 and something typed up letters with my family's photo, sort of the same thing type approach. I actually got quite a bit of calls on that. I think it was out of 400, I think I had 7 calls. So I thought that was pretty successful. 2 really good leads out of it. I totally screwed up one, just being straightforward. I totally messed it up, didn't manage it right, delayed responding, everything you could possibly do wrong, I did wrong on that one. And pissed the guy off at the end. So it was fantastic. The next one was a guy who wanted to sell his entire portfolio in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which I know nothing about Lake Charles, Louisiana. It was 11 homes. Totally freaked me out. I was like, how the heck do I even figure out how to do this? And by the time I started really narrowing it down with them and kind of getting to a point where I figured out how to value it, it was getting hit by a hurricane. So then I was like, well, let's wait and see how the hurricane goes. Then they get hit by another hurricane and then another hurricane. I was like, maybe this place isn't for me. So I did refer him to another wholesaler who's working with them to try to get some deals out of it. And if they do, I might get some, like a couple $100 for being nice. And then I am doing ballpoint marketing. I started that at the end of November. I've dropped 2,000 letters at this point. I still have another 1,500 to go. I have had 6 calls, all of them to remove me from the list. But I have seen a significant jump in the people that have gone to my Carrot site. So which is my website that I have everything with. And I've seen that go up from having, I think like 10, 15 people visit it to I've been up to 100 and some. Now I'm at 222 at the end of November, which is a lot for somebody that's not had any traffic. And then I've seen a lot of traffic on my retargeting for Facebook. So I've seen, I looked at that yesterday, I have about 11 or so ads running right now, and they've all seen at least 90 of them. And so I think that that's getting a lot of traction because each person gets to see more. And so it builds on without me having to go physically do the drip campaign stuff. And so that's my next setup, is to actually go through Resimply, set up my drip campaign and get that going. And I've ordered another round of ballpoint marketing, and I'm going to mail that. My first list was absentee owners with equity. I think I narrowed it down to a very small select few of zip codes, and that may be where I might have gone wrong, because it's like a significant number of people hitting those same zip codes, and there was a high volume zip codes. So I think that's a strategy. If I were to redo it, I would have stretched myself out to zip codes that I know are good, but not necessarily like in the hot center, right? Where I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, so everybody and anybody's here marketing those same guys. So with my same message. So it probably would have been smarter to exit that. And then I have another list that I mailed that it's going to be next week, or comes in next week. So
I had a question chatted in for whoever wants to answer this, but when you're talking to someone, how do you disclose to them that you're wholesaling the deal? Like, do you have something in writing? Do you have a conversation? How do you let them know that?
You don't.
Yeah. So we do not upfront, because that kind of gets them complicated. And they're like, wait, what do you mean? Like, you're not closing with me, but so it kind of makes the thing complicated. Ours is in writing. So whenever we send the contract, we have a clause in our contract that says we may assign this to a third party buyer, whatever. And we also have an inspection period on all of our contracts that if we don't end up wholesaling it, we can pull out of the contract and it saves our deposit. So, and there's going to be like, oh, sorry, Chris.
It depends on where you are. So like if you're in Texas and you use the TREC, which is the TREC contract, which is the real estate contract, it actually has assignability in it. So it's easy. You don't even have to have a different contract if you don't want to and you don't feel comfortable with it. You could use the actual real estate contract that's put out by the Real Estate Commission here, and it's assignable. So it makes it easier. And I think RB, you guys, do y'all do double close? A lot of we're doing double closes here too.
Yeah, so we don't really do double close unless like absolutely necessary. Even on the 50K one that I didn't do a double close. My title company can do a one-side HUD statement. So it means the buyer or the seller is not seeing what I'm making. He's just seeing he's part on what he's getting out of the deal or from the sale.
What was that? It's called a, can you repeat that? It's called a what?
What is it? Like a blind HUD. Every state has like their own name for it. Like a one-side HUD, either one of those. You can just ask the title company, see if they do something like that. If they don't, they're probably not an investor-friendly title company. They'll find another one.
So can you explain to everyone what a double close means?
Double close means when you're physically or technically purchasing the property in your name first, and then you end up selling it to another seller in like 2 hours. But the title goes through you first. With wholesaling, it doesn't. It just goes straight to the end buyer, and you just collect the fee.
You never own the property. It's never in your name.
Also, another question: what's a drip campaign?
The drip campaign, it's like an automated text messaging campaign. So like, for example, I just keep going back to Resimply because that's a reference I have, but they allow us to do, so I can say, okay, for this lead, send a text in 2 days, and then send another text in 5 days, and then another one in 10, and so on and so forth. So it'll automatically send those texts for me.
So speaking of text, that leads me to kind of a question where we can kind of wrap up any last questions that folks might have. But as the world is kind of changing, communications are always evolving. I noticed myself that as a landlord, I get I get mailers all the time. I got one right before the call today, and they put a Google photo of my house that I own. I thought that was pretty cool. But so I get letters, postcards, calls, and text messages. I think I've even gotten a few emails from them too. So what do you guys kind of see as the future? Like, are you going to continue with the actual mailers, or do you think you'll eventually start evolving to texting people, or what are your thoughts on that?
We personally tried a little bit of everything when it comes to marketing for leads. We've done driving for dollars, text messages, cold calling, obviously, direct mail, Google ads, Facebook ads, all that type of stuff. And our most profitable ones have been direct mail and the online ads. From text messaging, I tried it for 3 months. I spent over $4,000, and then I didn't get anything, at least in my market. We know other investors that have done really good with text messaging.
With text messaging, you have to be really creative because they're shutting it down so quick.
Yeah.
When you send like a text blast, I don't think you can even have the word house in it. You can't even have the word cash, offer. Like, there's so many words that just eliminate the text immediately. They don't even send it out.
Yeah.
So you like the card route, how much spend on average per card?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out for us. I don't know if us or
She's frozen.
Per deal.
There is a question there while she comes back on. You guys have a buyer's list. How did you build that?
It takes a lot of networking. Before COVID, I was going to a lot of like the meetups in person, and I was getting a lot of cards and just kind of manually adding them. And then we also do, like, there's some Facebook groups in every market. I think there's at least one for real estate investors, and there's going to be a lot of people that type on there who wants to be on my list, and then a bunch of people will respond with their emails. So kind of slowly.
Yeah, and occasionally we get a wholesaler sends out a deal, and they forget to BCC people all the emails on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just tag all the email addresses. So sometimes we just
get lucky like that.
You get lucky like that sometimes. So you can add about maybe 300 email addresses to your buyer's list.
Right.
So those type of things you gotta pay attention to as well.
I was thinking about starting some cold texting, but we'll see. I just got a cold caller. We'll see how she does.
Try them one at a time and see which one works best.
But try them for enough, like probably 2 months.
Yeah, to really give them their
see
time.
the results. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so interested in the texting side of this, and I probably get 5 to 10 texts a day now, and it's just interesting to me. I try to pursue everyone that reaches out to me, and they all end up turning into they're not great, they're not well done. So but I respond to everyone, and I get so many letters, and I don't respond to any of the letters. So I was waiting for text message marketing to come up here.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's really market dependent. Nashville is also very, like somebody said, like saturated. So with a lot of people are trying those ways because it's cheaper to enter and do it. And then 99% of our responses were, get me off the list, get me off the list. So it's only you're looking for that 1% that's like, okay, make me an offer, and, kind of get it from there. But we got some leads, but it just never turned out into deals because they were looking for like way higher price than what we could offer.
Okay, I think I'm back, and I think you guys can see me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So someone wanted to know, and stop me if you've already covered this, but how you buy deals. Do you use your own money? Do you have private money lenders? How are you funding these deals?
For us, it's always private or hard money in worst case scenario. Even if we had the capital, I don't want to lock it up in just one deal. So to us, it's more beneficial to do a couple at a time, maybe, than just one at a time.
Have you guys had more success with your online ads or your direct mail, do you think? Or do you think it's all just together?
it's a balance.
Yeah.
There's going to be months, or there has been months where I get like 4 deals from online and then 0 from direct mail, and then another month where I get 4 direct mail and then 0 online. So it kind of fluctuates.
Yeah, the key is just to be consistent. Whatever
Right.
you do, just being consistent, because you never know where the deal is going to come from, honestly.
Yeah. And with online ads, you can't really control who's looking up, to sell their house for cash. With direct mail, you control how many you send out and when you do it and all that stuff.
How did you guys find your private money? I'm always interested in that.
That's like the $1 million question. Right? No, but it's a lot of networking and just using all the people that you know. Tallahassee has been some college professors, dads of like our friends from college, literally anyone you can think of that might have some money or equity line of credit, or what are they even call, like home lines of credit.
But it all starts with you actually telling everybody or
What you do.
talking about that you are an investor.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have private lenders last year because we weren't that successful. We weren't talking about that we're investors. We weren't posting about it that much. But as soon as we start posting about our success and everybody starts seeing it, they knew like, hey, they're legit. I can trust them.
They definitely need some type of track record
Yeah.
you can show yourself that you're reliable and they're going to get their money back. Because that's the worst part about trying to get somebody to be a private lender is, how do I get my money back and how do I know you guys can do it?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that is great, RV and Dave. Something that you hit on that really rings home to me that I always say is just shout it from the rooftops what you're doing. So I always talk about putting it on Facebook, I think Facebook's a great local market. It's your friends, your family, and you just keep that drip campaign on Facebook. Hey, this is what I do. I'm a real estate investor. Check this out.
Yeah.
And people come out of the woodwork to everybody wants to be in real estate. So
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, there's been people that are like your gym friends that you never knew had money that start lending to you just because they saw a Facebook post or something like that about what you did. So you never know where it's coming from.
That's kind of the tricky part. People, it's kind of a sensitive part because you actually have to think of somebody that might have a lot of money, and some people don't feel comfortable reaching out to them or talking to them. And it's slowly, you don't just pop up the question like, hey, do you want to lend money to me? Like it's always building that relationship. You slowly send them hints, like maybe an email or two about the deals you've been doing every month, and that's how you get them interested.
And
I love that.
Asked, I think if we do the work ourselves, I think I lost the question, but if we do it ourselves or if we hire it out for flips.
Flips, we definitely used to do a lot of work ourselves, but that was not working out for me that well.
Because you ended up doing most of the work.
I was doing a lot of work, and the way we were scaling, and Harvey was telling me, hey, Dave, next month we have another property to flip. And back in my head, I'm like, I need a break, honestly. So since we started doing direct mail, that kind of opened up the opportunity to make flipping as well as a business. So now I really try not to touch anything in the house. I really try not to. I think the last flip is one of our only flips that I actually didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
So I'm officially out of the actual manual labor part of flipping properties.
My husband would be so jealous.
It takes some time because you're always like, but I can do that myself and save money.
That's the mindset. But if you think about it, if you spend that time like finding
another deal,
analyzing deal, and that time I spend now, for example, I manage my own construction company. I do regular kitchen and bathroom remodels for other retail clients, and with no employees. I just use my subs that I use for my flips, and I renovate bathrooms and kitchens for regular retail clients. I usually manage about 3 to 4 at the same time with those projects, and then usually we always have 1 or 2 flips at the same time. So taking yourself out of that part of the business, it's worth it because you're gonna make way more money at the end.
Well, I see someone wanted to know how much, what percent do you pay to your private lenders?
That depends on how good of a negotiator you are. No, but it's the typical rates. I mean, even if it's like very close people, we don't lowball them on like percentage wise. I'd say the lowest is like 8 and 1%, and then as high as 12 and 3.
Yeah, the 12 and 3 is more the hard money lenders. Sometimes they call
Yeah.
themselves private money lenders, but they're hard money lenders. And if you go, hard money lenders are usually people that do it as like full time. This is my
Yeah.
business. But a private money lender is somebody just on the side and just wants just income on the low, basically every month.
So that's go ahead, Mindy, sorry.
I was gonna say, when I did private, or not private, hard money, it was right under 13%. So I think that's kind of the going rate for those.
Yeah.
And do you want to describe what like 12 and 3 means?
So 12% and then 3 points on the loan. Do you want me to get into more detail?
I think that's good.
Yeah, dig into that. What are points? I don't know what points are. What the heck are points?
Yeah, the 12% is yearly, so technically 1% a month. And then the 3 points is 3%, kind of like an origination fee of the loan. So if we were lending $100,000, 3% goes to the lender, no matter how many months we keep the property for.
So I'm going to borrow $100,000 from you guys. Wait a minute. Let's make it easy. $50,000 from you guys. No. Let's go with 100,000. So 3 points. I have to pay upfront 3% of that, right?
Yes.
So what would that be? $3,000.
Yes.
And then 12% annual interest rate. So
There's
$1,000 per month per payment. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the 3,000 goes to the lender.
Right?
Sorry, say that again.
You have to account for that in your deal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That can make and break a deal, honestly.
Yeah.
That can make it break.
And do I pay that interest to you monthly, or can I just pay it to you at the end when I sell the house?
So usually, even for our private money lenders, we like to pay them monthly just because they like to see the income. And
Yep.
you gotta put money aside, like your own money, to make sure that you can make those type of payments monthly. Unless it's your mom or your dad and you're lending money from them, then they can kind of trust you to pay them back at the end.
Hopefully.
But points we usually pay at the end when we sell the property, and then the 12% or like the monthly percentage interest only, we pay it monthly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
sorry, go ahead.
I like exactly the way that you mentioned it. I like the idea of monthly payments to private or hard money investors because it shows that you're able to make the payments. You're building that relationship, and maybe down the road you move to just paying that interest at the end of the loan. But in your beginning relationships with them, I think paying it monthly is good.
Yeah, and I think most of them like the idea of like it being passive income and getting a monthly check. So you sending that to them monthly, to them is like, oh my gosh, like I'm not doing anything for this money and I'm getting paid. And then when you're done and selling it, they're like, all right, just keep it, don't return it back, put it somewhere else.
Well, I want to take a minute and tell Arvi and Dave and Kier, thank you for sharing on direct mail. For those of you that want to hop off, that's going to wrap up our portion on direct mail. However, we do like to stick around and hear just, more low key. If you have any successes, struggles, or if you just want to, have a beer and hang out and talk, or if you have ideas for future meetups, whatever, we'll just kind of open it up. So, but don't be that person that's got like super loud noise. Put yourself on mute if you're that person. But if not, if you want to chat, chime in. And once again, tell Arvi and Dave, thanks for joining us. I think we chatted in the episode 19 of the Bigger Pockets Rookie. Go give them a listen, give them a follow on Instagram. I put their hand, we'll put it on the Like-Minded Investors page too. So.
And Arvi, if you guys, I forgot to ask you about your t-shirts. If you guys want to.
T-shirts.
Yes, we forgot about that. We are doing these t-shirts that are either money making duo, or if you don't have a duo for your single self, on our website, moneymakingduo.com. We're mainly doing this to donate back to World Central Kitchen. They work with giving meals out to homeless people and unemployment, or people of like the lower income. So honestly, we're just doing that for donation, and then you get a cool T-shirt out of it. So it's kind of like a win-win.
The main purpose is behind it too is that we're trying to motivate everybody that even though there's a pandemic going on, that making money is still possible. Now and even 2021 around the corner is definitely something that should motivate everybody to do better than 2020.
Yeah. We tell everybody we could do it, you guys can do it as well.
Where can we find the link for ordering shirts if we want to get one?
Yeah, I'll type it on here.
Awesome. And does anyone have any successes or struggles from the week? Anything they want to talk about? If not, I mean, I can talk for a while, guys.
I saw somebody asked a pretty good question. If people don't know the difference, I saw it somewhere, but now it's gone. I think it was the difference between private money and hard money.
Good question.
I think.
Who's going to answer it? RV? Are you guys, RV and Dave?
Yeah, sure. Private is when it's somebody that doesn't do it full time per se, and that is willing to lend you at a lower rate, like I mentioned, like the 8 and 1%. And then, like Dave said, the hard money is more somebody that does this like full time, that is an expert, has his own contracts, things like that. That has like a higher percentage rate. But there also could be like companies that are hard money lenders. So there's like full-time people and then actual companies. Those are like harder money lenders, the companies. But I mean, the worst case scenario, as long as you put your margins in right, you should be able to afford them.
But that's what we're chasing now. We're trying to find more private money lenders. Right. That's one step that we're trying to take now to get better and to create more profit on our side.
Yeah.
Hey, RV,
I'm going to give it.
Are you guys looking? Yeah, are you guys looking to use that private money like almost like a line of credit? So you're borrowing $100,000. I'm just gonna make it easy on myself, and it's 7%, and you just keep that, and you keep rolling it, and you just keep giving them 7% all the time, or
we use it on a property. We use it on one specific deal. Like we use one lender for one deal.
And we'll pay it back unless we have something lined up and then the money immediately transfers, but they get a backed up like mortgage onto their money. So we're not just going to use it as a line of credit. We still give them the security of like a promissory note and a backed up mortgage with the real property. So even if we keep moving it, it's still going to be assigned to like a new property every time.
Got it. Great answer. I'm looking through the chat. Sorry to interrupt real quick. And I see that there is a private money in there. Travis Hill says in the chat, I typically lend private money at 10%. So we have a fella on this chat that is a private money lender.
Yeah.
So how awesome is that?
Somebody asked, why is hard money better if they charge higher interest rates? That's because they are more experienced, and like they'll lend you even if you haven't done any deals. And they'll base it upon the property itself, not so much on you. With private money, I mean, if you're going to like even a family member or somebody typically you got to have some type of track record and kind of show them that that you can do it. Now, if you can find private money before hard money, I mean, go for it. There's no reason to not use it.
And somewhere else up here too that somebody asked, it seems like we all have like a lot of tools that we use monthly. Like, what are your monthly costs for maintaining all of the like programs and processes and systems and stuff that you guys need?
Oh, that's a good question, and I probably should know this, but I think because I mentioned only like 3 systems, I have a lot more than those, but I think with all subscriptions and everything, it adds up to around 1,000, 1,500 tops.
Oh my God, that's so much money per month. How do you guys justify it? $1,000. How do I afford that?
Right. So when you get one deal, definitely pay yourself back on that 1,500 plus the marketing, and then plus you keep more in your pocket as well.
Yeah, because you guys are averaging 10,000 per deal. I mean,
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, and it did to us too. Like when we started and we put, you know, like $3,000 in marketing at the very beginning, we were like, oh my God, like this is horrendous. Like, how are we going to do this? And then you get the deal and it's like, oh, okay. Like now you can afford it. And then it actually works.
So I have a question, because I know, and here this might be for you to chime in too. So I know there's some people that want to scale up like you guys have done and, you know, go big or go home kind of mentality. And then there's people like me who are like, I drove for dollars a few weekends ago and I have like 60 leads and I want to do something with these 60 leads. Like, what would you recommend to someone like me who wants to keep it smaller scale to be the most impactful, I guess, with my time and money, with like this really targeted list of people in this one little cute, I call it a cute little area that I want to invest in? Like, what advice would you give for someone like me?
Honestly, so if it's like a small list like that, probably my first touch would be to try to call them and then try to build a relationship that way. If they don't answer, which probably like usually half of them don't on the phone, then I'll follow it up with a card. Just kind of being more personal. I wouldn't go, you know, like too broad on it. So just be personal. Like you said, you're trying to stay small, so don't do it as a business. Just do it as a personal, you know, touch. And then honestly, from there, I mean that's
from the system sides. I would probably say your CRM.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be low on the low scale or high scale, you're trying to scale really fast, the CRM is probably like the crown jewel.
Yeah.
Like,
this is my CRM currently. It's my notebook.
Yeah.
I know it's cutting out, but I love that you said to call them instead. Like I didn't even think of that. I was like, I'm going to mail to everyone.
Yeah.
So
I mean, with the
where do I find their phone number though?
skip trace.
You can skip trace them. Our favorite one is Lead Sherpa and Batch Leads. Lead Sherpa gives you way more information than Batch Leads, but I've used both and they're both like pretty accurate.
Yeah, they give you their number, their parents' numbers.
Yeah, they give you three relatives, 2 or 3 emails.
My mom called me the other week and she was like, someone called and I got this mail piece for you. And I was like, dang,
yeah, exactly.
That's savage.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for that. I was totally here for my own personal gains.
And just to say real quick, if you're interested in more like information on the private lender, I give out a free packet. It's on my Instagram, like link in bio, where you can just put your email and it automatically will send it to you. And it just shows a packet. It's only about like what I did in the beginning. Like I didn't have any track record to prove myself. So I just used my business and like my vision and what my goals and what I wanted my business to be and, you know, where I saw myself in 3 and 5 years, so that it kind of builds up some credibility on yourself. And then, you know, once I started getting deals, I would put on there my past deals. But it's like the cool way to show your lender that
you're credible.
You're credible.
Mm-hmm.
I did one of those little private money lending presentation thing, and I spent a lot of time on it, and I locked up 2 private money lenders from it.
Yeah, exactly.
It works.
Yeah, I got my first private money. I mean, I took him out to lunch and I gave him the packet and he was like, wow, nobody's ever done this for me. Like, this is so cool. So it makes him feel special.
If there's one thing we learned from college is that like presentations.
Yeah.
Yep. That's really one thing we definitely learned from college.
There was a question about like what was your most difficult pitch for a private money lender and what lessons did you learn?
I don't think there's like ever a difficult pitch, but it's mostly like from your nerves. Like in the beginning, you don't sound as confident. So even like me in the beginning, I would like do a terrible job at explaining what I was doing and, you know, how I was trying to get, you know, into my vision and all that stuff. So the packet like helped me because I was like, okay, I have an outline so I can kind of take him through step by step. So that was like the one thing I learned is instead of like trying to explain to them everything on the phone or something like that, because if you're going to private money and they have no idea on real estate, they're going to have so many questions. So kind of meeting them, showing them the packet. It even explains like the business model on the packet that I give out. So it answers a lot of questions for them out front. So try to keep it as simple and as clear as possible for
make
them.
sure you show them and tell them how much they can be making.
Right.
That's one of like really important because they
at the end of the day
they like the presentations, all the nice words, but how much
Yeah.
money am I making every month? That's one thing you need to understand, like the number side of 12 points,
right.
3 points, sorry, and 12%. You need to understand that.
Dumb it down. And I also think, so I started using private money when a couple of years ago. You sometimes you totally have to educate these people. Like they have no clue. These high net worth, the way that I found my first private money person was I was actually doing a job. I'm a contractor as well. And the guy and his lawyer buddy were in the basement bar and they were just dying over that they were getting to make like 2% interest on $300,000 they were giving to the bank. And I started laughing and I told him, I says, I'll give you 10. Like you're losing 2% interest because of inflation. Inflation's 4% roughly.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do that total education as well and be patient with them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think a super important thing too is how are you pretend it's your money. So how are you going to protect them? You know, talk to them about here's the ways that we do this. We do a first position lien for you, and we have insurance for this and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And not that I'm like trying to sell or anything, but in my packet, like I explain all of that and it's clear for them, you know, how they're getting, being protected, you know, what's their position in the lien, what could happen. Like if I stop paying them, you know, within 10 days or something like that, they can foreclose on me if they wanted to. So like you said, it's super important that you explain it to them because they don't understand, like they get the concept of what a bank does, but they don't really have never done it or anything. So you explaining every detail makes it like very doable for them.
Oh, so someone wants to know for private investors, what's the normal average amount and how frequently? I mean, I think there's probably a lot of variation depending on the market, things like that, but.
Right. Yeah, if you're in a high-end market, then you definitely, you know, got to up the numbers. But for us, we have a minimum of like $70,000 that they can lend to us. Anything lower than that, I'd probably tell them, hey, like if I have a really small property that's like 50,000 or something like that, then I'll bring you in. But other than that, like I would tell them to save up money and then come back to us, because we don't mix different lenders with like one property. It can be a big no-no, and then it can be like very messy and things can get really ugly really quickly. So telling them that they need at least a minimum of like 70,000 for us, you know, for other people it could be more because when you're starting out, you don't have that much. So, you know, have a minimum in your mind that you know that without that, you can do it, and then just go from there. Because at the same time that they're interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you have enough to cover the actual purchase, if you're holding it, any renovations, and then of course holding costs or like that.
And we've done that before to where we were like so tight on a flip, and we're like, okay, we're down to like the last thousands if we don't close on this property. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do. So I definitely do not suggest that at all. Make sure that you have enough savings or, you know, whatever it is to be comfortable in the flip.
I think it's important to realize from a lending standpoint, anything like 50,000 is probably kind of a good minimum, because once you start getting lower than that, like say 25, 10, 15, it just doesn't make like the turn of money, even if you're doing a 1-year note, doesn't really, even though it's 10%, like, oh, it's awesome, it's 10%, but it doesn't really like maximize your value on that small amount of money from a lender standpoint. That's why the 70,000 I think is a great. 50,000 is kind of what is my minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we had one of our college professors, he wanted to lend to us with 25,000. And at that point, we didn't have a minimum. And I was kind of explaining to him the numbers. And I think his return was like 500 on it. And he's like, no, like that doesn't make sense. So you know, the bigger they go, the more they make. So.
You know where is a great resource for private money is if you have one, if you have somebody that is, or if you know a high net worth individual, to talk to them. So my second private money investor came from my first one. So they were so excited that they were telling their friends about it. And I say that to them now. So even my second private money investor, I tell them, I say, I want you to be so excited about this that you'll tell your friends about me and brag about it. And then they'll want to call me.
Yeah.
And I also, Grant Cardone, any Grant Cardone fans here? I hope so. Everybody kind of knows my Uncle Grant. Don't ask your private money investor. Like if you're when I sat down for the meeting with my second private money investor, I asked them for $1 million. That's how I started the meeting. I didn't want to ask for $50,000. So, you know, and Grant would say that too. Like you want to go ask for somebody for like $1 million or $250,000. So we shot big. We walked away from that meeting with a $250,000 investment.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of the big numbers. I would say as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go in asking for if you go in asking for $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, you know, they're gonna kind of, you know, if they go and do the math, it really hits home when you're positioning yourself as I think an expert when you're going in asking for $1 million deal, that you can handle that kind of those kind of funds.
I saw a question too about, which I just found out that you guys have house hacked before too. So it says, what type of properties do you guys target? Single family, multifamily, a mix of all, and have you house hacked?
Yeah. This year we've mostly focused on single family. When we did house hack, we did have a duplex like in Buffalo. But next year our goal is to get more into rentals and kind of hold more. So we're going to try and focus more on some like duplexes and even single families too, but we'd like to add more to our portfolio.
Yeah, but our house hacks were not the traditional buy duplex, rent out the second part. The first house hack was a house that we were originally going to flip, and then we found out that you could convert it into a duplex. So we figured might as well do it. The second house hack was here in Nashville. We just moved here. We had a master suite. It was a spacious one, and it was kind of detached, basically. Only thing that was separating from the rest of the house was one door, and it was on the back side of the house. So we decided to put a door in, a back door, and to rent that out on Airbnb, and that covered basically everything, every mortgage payment, electric, water.
So you guys have Airbnb'd, wholesale, you have rental properties, you flip.
That's why they're the money-making duo.
I know, we've tried a little bit of everything, and we didn't really have like a set goal, like, okay, we're gonna try all of them. It just kind of happened as we were doing it. So we say it all the time, like, be open to opportunities, even with virtual flips. Like, that's something I always thought we weren't gonna do, and we just did this one. I mean, it was 3 hours away, so we still traveled like twice to see it, but for the most part it was virtual. So just be open to the opportunities, because you never know, you know, what the outcome is. And if it didn't work out, great, then you know it didn't.
I think that's really awesome, because you know, some people, they talk about shiny object syndrome, right? Like SOS, and everybody talks about how, oh, this is awesome, this is awesome. Well, if you have a goal and you have a, like, say you have a cash number to make, and maybe RV, you guys do, maybe that's something like, hey, it may be a number of doors, it may be a certain cash value a month that you're a cash loan, but whatever that vision is that you have, that you're flexible enough, you're strong enough to bend in those areas to make that happen, and be able to diversify those real estate transactions. I mean, like, that's awesome. You know, like, you enjoy the shiny objects, so you're using that as a strength to help build your portfolio.
Yeah, just to piggyback onto what you're saying, for the shiny object syndrome, a lot of people get that confused with like doing a lot more than what you can handle. To us, like, we did a lot of different strategies, but it aligned with our goals. Like, I wouldn't go on and I don't know, maybe open like an Amazon store because it's an opportunity, but it doesn't align with my end goals. So I'm not going to do that.
Because basically, if it's real estate related,
and
that's kind of what we stick with. Anything real estate related, construction, that's kind of what we stick with, because that's what we know. It might be a little different when it comes to house hack, wholesale, but everything falls around real estate.
Harvey and Dave, you are my kind of people. I love it. I saw a great question in the chat. So I think we're geared towards newer investors. So Nala asks, why would you choose private hard money, those expensive private hard money, 10%, 13% loans for financing new deals rather than doing a cash out refinance on a property you already own?
Oh, you can absolutely do that. Some people just don't have a home they can refinance out and cash out of. If you do, that's a great way to start. I mean, you're not paying that high interest rate, but we didn't. Like when we started out, we started right out of college, so we didn't have any homes we owned or like 401k, you know, or anything in our backs to help us with the journey. So we just kind of went for hard money.
And if you own the house outright and you don't want to start paying mortgage bills, then you use a hard money lender, basically.
Yeah, that too. It just depends on what you want to do, honestly.
I think that I'm going to tease what I'm reading in there is from you guys is you came out of college.
Yeah.
If you have no money, right, then a hard money or a private money is a great thing. And if you had to pay, it doesn't matter the interest rate that you're paying. It doesn't matter if it's 100% interest rate. If the deal still makes sense, considering that interest rate, and you can still be profitable and make the amount of money that you want, then yes, pay those higher percent loans.
Just include it in your numbers. When you run your numbers, make sure you include, we always include, it doesn't matter if you use a private money or hard money, we always use 12%.
And 3 points.
And 3 points, no matter what. If we find a private money lender if our private money lender is available at that time, great, more money for us.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. So you're using 12% with the 3% on all of your deals that you're looking at. So if you get private money at 10%, then you basically save yourself quite a bit of money, and that deal is that much more profitable. That's awesome.
If it works for us, at the worst case scenario, you know, obviously it's going to work for the best too.
Dave, you said that you also have a... Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go after you.
Oh, I thought you were frozen for a second. Dave, you said you have like a remodeling or a construction company, right?
Yes, correct.
So somebody asked, like, I know this might be a little different for you guys, but somebody asked, do you think it's a good idea to interview GCs before you find the deals, or bid out the projects to multiple GCs after finding the deal? Probably slightly different for you guys though.
I would, I never went the GC route. I am basically the GC of the project. I use subcontractors, but in that case, I would, before you get the deal, I would definitely vet the GCs already from the start. Go and see their work, go and see their process. Just stop by one of their, what I usually do, or what I recommend doing, is randomly stop by one of their projects, just to see what's going on and how the process is, how they work, because that's the same way they're going to work at your project, basically. So with the GC route, I don't have that much experience. When it comes to subcontractors, I do.
But I can say usually the GCs in my area, at least, they're not going to waste time coming out and checking out every deal unless you have it under contract. Yeah. And so I think it's important as a new investor to know enough to be able to get some rough numbers around what a rehab is going to look like. Because like I said, I know when I was starting out, I was like, hey, can I get bids? And people are like, is it under contract?
Yeah, yeah. So. I was actually gonna kind of controverse Dave here a little bit, but especially if you're new and you don't know them, I wouldn't go out and like try to talk to them before you even have anything, unless you know somebody that you can just go in and have a conversation to like get some insight on how to do things, because GCs usually are busy and they don't want to waste time with somebody that doesn't have anything. It's sad but true, and it's business, so it's really nothing you can do about it. So just like if you're going the GC route, you know, just try to at least have something either under contract or even a property through a realtor that you can bring them in and maybe just say it's under contract if it's not, to get their attention more.
Harvey and Dave, you have a construction business too, which is awesome. I think it's important, and I'd love to see this as a meetup topic, is working with contractors. I get so many people that reach out to me with my contracting business from out of state, out of country, and they want these detailed estimates from me, and and not being careful with time, and maybe they don't own the property yet. They want me to walk with them, and they want a couple other contractors there, and I usually just bow out, or on a detailed estimate, I actually charge for that for them, and they just look at me like I got 3 heads, and it's like, what do you mean you charge for it? Well, a detailed estimate's going to cost me some time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people underestimate contractors because even like with some examples from like his retail clients, they're like, well, why is it so expensive? You're just laying tile. I'm like, yeah, but that's a lot of hard work. Like, do you want to lay your own tile? Type stuff. Right. So people actually, like, the labor is not easy. Like, if you've done your own flips and you've actually put your own like sweat and equity into it, like, it's not easy. So after we did our own, like, we really appreciated contractors a lot more, and we realized why they charge so much.
Right. Doing tile work, and they show up with a $400 laser to make sure the tiles are level. And
yeah.
And a $600 saw to cut your large format tiles with a $50 blade on it.
Exactly.
Here, aren't you part of a construction company too?
Yeah, we're really trying to shift though from doing a lot of client work, and we want to shift more into the real estate. So get our own deals more instead of kind of like what Dave's doing there.
Yeah, it's not easy. I feel like retail clients are way worse than investors, and Dave has way more to say.
They're great people. They're great. But sometimes it's a headache. Sometimes it is.
99%.
I joke that all like I feel bad because people on here are contractors for homeowners, but like I joke that like all the good contractors are gone because a lot of homeowners have driven them real estate and working with investors and stuff because it's just easier.
In Nashville, a lot of contractors just focus on new builds because there's so much new build going on here. There's so many clients that they call me every other day, like, where's my estimate? And I'm like, it's been a day or two, and they keep telling me
Yeah,
so a lot of contractors move away, especially cities like this. They move away to new construction because the house is empty. They can do whatever they want. They can drink a beer while they're doing the tile work. They don't care. So that's a fact, though.
Well, do we have any other questions? We usually wrap it up around now.
RV and Dave, do you have a favorite book you're reading?
Me?
Either of you, RV or Dave.
So right now I'm actually reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So that's the one I'm reading right now, and I really like it. So I recommend it if you haven't.
It's an amazing book. I was pumped after I read that one.
I don't really read that often. Honestly, I have to get better at it. But one book I definitely enjoyed reading was Where's My Cheese?
Finding My Cheese.
Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, great book.
That one.
Both great books.
Yeah. After he read that book, he's like, all right, I'm going to join you on the real estate.
We got a question?
That's awesome.
Somebody, I think, was trying to ask something.
Yeah, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I asked this one in the chat. It's linked to door knocking. And from your experience, RV and Dave, have you tried door knocking, and what's the what was your results when you compare that to direct mail? Because I've been debating on figuring out some kind of systematized version of door knocking, right? Kind of like building a small army of people to go door knock because of the higher rates of return there. But I'm still on the fence on that, so I'm not sure.
I think I tried door knocking for like a week. It's not for me, honestly. And door knocking is basically based off your personality. Believe me, door knocking can work. A friend of mine here in Nashville, that's what he does. And he picked up 10 houses from one guy, like a whole street. he has now just based off door knocking. So door knocking works. It just depends on your personality. And as you said, it's definitely smart to get a couple of people to do it, but make sure that their personality fits the door knocking.
Yeah. And to us, personally, I mean, it's very time consuming, and I'm trying to automate as much as I can. So I personally like don't do it. But again, if you're just starting out and you have like a very tiny budget, like just do it. The most important thing is to take action, any type of action to start out.
Hey, Obi. So I used to run a door knocking program for previous campaigns for 4 years. And Arby and Dave are right. There's a very specific skill set for your personality set that you want to go after when you're door knocking. You definitely need somebody that's an extreme extrovert, does not mind getting the door slammed in their face, knows that's really good on their feet. It takes a lot to get it. You most of the time run younger people because they're going to be on their feet hitting 100 plus houses trying to get through the list. The next thing is your leads. Like what are you really targeting? Make sure you've got a really good plan for those people that are going out, and that you know exactly what you're hitting on that neighborhood or however you're going to go after it, so that you have enough information when you're arming them that when they hit those doors, they're ready to roll. But I think it's definitely successful, especially if you're going, and this is going to sound a little bit probably not a PC, but if you're going the senior route, it's going to be a fantastic number for you because they're at home. They're usually willing to talk to anybody because they haven't talked to anybody in a few days or weeks or months. And they are usually the first ones that'll be jumping to agree to whatever it is. And you can walk them through the process. Definitely is. I think it's a very fruitful opportunity, but it's a lot of sweat equity into it. And so if you set up an army of people and you're not doing it, then it's going to be pretty good. If you want to spend your time doing investing and your ass is out there door knocking, you're doing, like Dave said, you're doing 10 houses and then you're waiting because it's a lot. You're not scaling that personally on your own.
Yeah.
That was great. I mean, I never really thought about going out and door knocking, but I mean, after hearing all that, I think that's a good way to do it, because especially if you have the right personality and you know where you're going, and if you can send someone else to do it, I like that part better.
Yeah.
So, well, I think Kier, do you want to wrap up or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to wrap up. If everyone, what was I gonna say? Oh, our meetup is gonna be, it's the third Thursday of every month. If you guys don't already know, I can see when the next one's gonna be. The 21st of January 21st. So if you guys wanna come back and join the fun, we're so glad. I can't believe we still have 42 people on here for this little after thing.
Yeah.
After party.
Sticking around.
Thank you so much, Arby and Dave, for being our guests, and Chris for chiming in, and Mindy and Steve, my co-hosts, and this was awesome. Everyone had such good questions, and thanks for participating. And yeah. Anything else, Mindy?
Just keep sharing the love on like-minded community, for our community, helping grow it, spreading the word. Like I said, you guys have been awesome about that. And if you have ideas for future meetups, this is for the community, so we want to hear them. Feel free to submit those. And other than that, I mean, enjoy your holiday season, and my cheesy, we'll see you next year. I know, I've been saying that to everyone. It's annoying, but I'm...
You only get to say it like once a year.
I know, yeah.
All right, well, have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you guys so much for coming on.